Goeienaand, good evening fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And wow, you know, it's getting really, really tight at the top of the ANC. You know, you've heard of the old expression, too many chiefs and not enough Indians? Well, the ANC epitomize that. I just put up a video a short while ago about Duduzane Zuma, who's now going to come back to South Africa from Dubai like a knight, a white knight, you know, to save the country. This after he's been in 5 years in exile after being involved with the Guptas and the corruption. And why is he coming back to South Africa, Duduzane Zuma? Because he wants to be the next president of South Africa. The Zuma legacy, the Zuma oligarchy. But he's got competition now from the same faction. And it's another crook. Yeah, Ace Magashule. He's now actually putting his hand up saying, I'm going to be the next president of the ANC. As I say, this is just crazy. All these mafia bosses wanting to run South Africa. Absolutely crazy. ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule's lieutenant, Niehaus, has published an 8-page document unpacking a vision of radical economic transformation. It is likely to be tabled as a discussion document for the National General Council, where Magashule is expected to unveil his campaign to become ANC president. Now, I've got a link below this video in the description. You can click on that and you can go and have a look at Niehaus's radical economic transformation document. You know, I don't know where to go with this, guys. I really don't know where to go with this. Please, someone help me. This is crazy. This is crazy. Anyway, the NGC is a midpoint ANC meeting between elective conferences where it takes stock of how the party is doing. Not very well. In fact, bloody awful. The meeting is expected to be held this year. Niehaus, who told a newspaper on Monday his threatened suspension had been lifted. He has been working in Magashule's office and running his campaign using MK Military Veterans Association, or MKMVA. The governing party's next elective conference is still planned for 2022, and it is becoming clear that President Cyril Ramaphosa will face a challenge from the Secretary-General, and not just the Secretary-General, as we now know. On Sunday, reported that Duduzane Zuma, the son of former President Jacob Zuma, had openly stated his wish to become South African president. The article did not say whether he planned to run on an ANC ticket, though, or through another party. Well, it's the Zuma oligarchy. Look, guys, it ain't rocket science. The ANC is horribly fractured and it's getting worse. I would be very surprised to see the ANC as we know it going forward in the 2024 elections. I think there's going to be two completely separate political parties breaking away from each other within the ANC. And I think you're going to have the hanger-oners like the Democratic Alliance and the Economic Freedom Fighters attaching themselves like parasites to what's left of the carcass of the ANC. Because, of course, they want to be top dog. Anyway, let's continue. The document titled Radical Economic Transformation, a basic document, amplifies the theme of white monopoly capital and calls for the mass nationalization of industries, including mines, insurance companies, steel and chemical companies, i.e. Sasol, ArcelorMittal, and Evraz Highfield Steel, which are named. Cement and construction companies. So what they're trying to do now is just clean out of what's left of the larder. They just want to clean out what's left. that they haven't already stolen. This is your ANC. The document says, this means that a few individuals should not own such companies, be they white or black. They should be owned by the state for the benefit of the people as a whole. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful idea. Absolute genius. Look at what the state has done to every state-owned enterprise in the country. Yeah. And this is written by a white guy. What an idiot. Anyway, let's continue. It is a document that will be used as a rallying point and a progress report on whether or not certain ANC resolutions taken in its 2017 elective conference at Nasrec, Johannesburg, have been achieved. Well, there's one we know that has not been achieved, and that is that if anyone, regardless of their position with the ANC, are called before the courts and arrested, they have to resign their positions. And guess who hasn't? Ace Magashule. Yeah. The hypocrisy is just a legend. I mean, I'm getting back to what's happening. It goes on to say, the ANC has passed resolutions along these lines, but there is no progress in implementation. The state pharmaceutical company and the state-owned milling company, which should by now be owning at least 30% of all new mining operations in South Africa, are examples. Now, I wonder how Nicky Oppenheimer would be feeling about all this. The nationalization of the gold mines and the only reason that leech is hanging on in South Africa. Maybe he'll make an exodus from South Africa with Johan Rupert. Well, perhaps it's better they're gone, you know. Completely decimate the tax base in South Africa. Let the ANC fall in the pile of shit that they belong in, and maybe South Africa can then be rebuilt by people who've got a little bit of this upstairs. Okay, let's continue. The document is written in comparison with the 1955 Freedom Charter, when socialism was still a viable dream, and with the ANC's 1969 Strategic and Tactics document. It is written as if the ANC has not been in power for 27 years, nearly a full generation. Written for the social media age of soundbites, Niehaus's founding thesis is that nothing has changed in South African wealth and ownership patterns, which he argues are still white-dominated. Well, I have a problem with that. Who are the billionaires in South Africa today? I'd like you to find me one white billionaire who has not been associated with the ANC. It's had some time. Who achieved that status since 1994. Then, put the shoe on the other foot, let's count the million of black ANC billionaires who've made their fortune since 1994. Yeah, it's called theft. Let's continue. The ownership of the South African economy is diverse, but it is dominated by white-owned and controlled companies, the document says. The state, run by the ANC for almost 30 years, is in fact responsible for roughly 30% of GDP and is the biggest employer, asset manager, and landowner in the country. It has regulatory power in the economy through a plethora of black empowerment and black employment laws. It wields this power like a samurai wields his sword. Listed companies have shareholdings dominated by pension funds, owned largely by black South Africans, and the Public Investment Corporation, which manages the funds of government employees, which is the biggest domestic asset manager and therefore shareholder. The most recent research on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is that the foreign asset managers, largely pension funds from other countries, are the second biggest group of investors, although this may have changed after South Africa's investment grade ratings was downgraded to junk status by the three major rating agencies. Now, I have to say that you don't have to be a genius to see that these guys who are still investing in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, they're going to be running like startled rabbits when they hear what's happening here with the suggestion in this document. And that's going to have a calamitous effect on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Why would you invest in a mine when you know it's going to be nationalized? I mean, really, you don't have to be a genius to work that one out. The asset management industry is, of course, not diverse by employment or ownership of the major firms, but the document does not acknowledge that the ultimate owners of what it calls white monopoly capital are often black pensioners. This is not reflected in Niehaus's RET document, which advocates a mix of socialism and wealth transfer as a rallying point for a faction that is organizing across South Africa and in ANC branches nationally. Okay, we're talking about a faction, the split in the ANC. The COVID-19 pandemic, which has depressed the economy to its lowest level and unemployment to its highest in recent history, has created a fertile ground for the populist framing of the RET campaign. In this context, it uses race as an easy scapegoat for populist support gathering. Niehaus also uses statistics as damned lies. For example, one of the document's points is that in terms of poverty, 56% of individuals live in poverty on less than 1,000 rand per month. By income levels, that's correct because of high unemployment, but it does not take account of the substantial social grants solidarity system, which pays out 19 million grants to households, lifting household incomes. The document says, these vested white monopoly capitalist interests also dictate which resolutions of the ANC are implemented. In so doing, they work closely with comrades in our movement, which, when they arrive in government, turn against resolutions of the movement, frustrating their implementation. An example is the nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank. Well, why they turn their backs on this whole thing is because they've got their heads so deep in the trough cleaning up that they've lost interest in the so-called ideals of the ANC. It's all about me. That's what it's about. Black privilege. In fact, the shareholders of the South African Reserve Bank shares earn a pittance in dividends and have no say in monetary policy. There is a widely held view that some are behind the lobby to nationalize to extort a higher price for their shares. In modern populist political campaigns, soundbite politics are often devoid of fact or truth. That is true for the RET document, which uses painful legacies of the past as tools to organize on behalf of a faction feeling the heat of reform and which also wants to get its hands back on the levers of power. Well, there you go, guys. Things are starting to get pretty bad within the ANC, and that's a good thing. All right, guys, remember the link to this RET document by Carl Niehaus is below this video in the description. And please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.